Today we're going to be trying out some basic rendering with Three.js, which is a library that essentially simplifies WebGL formatting. It lets you 3D render without all the extra code. This program can be created in about 35 lines of code, and it'll take less than 10 minutes. So we're going to start out with making a box. I'll have you go ahead and fork and clone the repo in the link in the description. You're going to start with the starter folder, and it should look, the index will look pretty much like this, and you'll see an empty app, and this is where we're going to be working exclusively. So the Three.js documentation tends to have everything in one document, but I've split off the CSS, which is just a canvas definition and body definition, and then split the app into a separate window for you. So we're going to start by adding a scene and a camera. What this basically is, the scene is what we're going to be working in, and there's a scene method for that, just like this. And then the camera, there are several cameras available in Three, but we're going to use a perspective camera. The values you see here are the field of view, the aspect ratio, which you're going to want to have the inner window height and width, so it will look even in your window and you won't get like weird stretching and pulling. How near to you the camera renders and how far away. This value could be a lot smaller, but we'll just leave it here for now. Next, we're going to add a renderer. So basically what this is the specific style that we're rendering in. This is the one they use for most of the tutorials, so we're just going to go ahead and use that for here. You set the size to whatever you want, really. I'm using the inner width and inner height so that it renders on the entire window, but you can set it to smaller for performance sake. And then you're going to be adding the renderer to the document so that it gets used. Alright, so let's add an animation element. We're going to do variable geometry 1, because we're going to add a couple shapes here, is new Three.box geometry, and we're going to add 1, 1, 1 as our starter values. Then we also need a material. Same deal, material 1. New 3.mesh basic material, and this one's actually an object, and we're going to set the color to a hex value. That one happens to be purple. And then we're going to go ahead and add, we're going to call this cube, and we're going to make it a new 3.mesh, and it's going to combine geometry 1 and material 1. And then, now that we've made a cube, we have to add it to the scene. Alright, and so there's our cube in the scene. Now we're going to move the camera back, because by default you add the cube to position 0, 0, 0, and that happens to be where the camera is right now. So we're going to say go back by 5. Now we still need one more thing to render a cube on the screen, and we're going to add a render function. So what this is it's requesting the frame and then using the renderer we set up here to set up our scene with the camera. And because we added the cube to the scene, the cube will be in it already. And it calls 60 times a second. So we'll go ahead and save it and check out our document. And it looks pretty much like a square. So let's add a rotation element to it so we can actually see what we're working with. Cube.rotation.x, and we'll say plus equals 0.01, and then copy that for the y value, save it, and reload our page. And now we have a rotating cube. So let's go ahead and add some more shapes. First we'll move the cube over. Go ahead and see what that looks like on the screen. Just making some more room. And move the camera back a little further, because we'll be seeing a lot more of that soon. And then we're going to add an icosahedron. So what we got here is the basic constructor for the icosahedron, and then we're doing another mesh basic material. This one I have the color as goldish yellow, and then I'm setting wireframe equal to true so that you can see the inner makeup of the shape. And then same deal as last time, it's adding it to the mesh as the geometry of the material, and then add it to the scene. So go ahead and save this, and let's see what it looks like. So it looks a little awkward right now because it's not moving, so the lines are a little overlapped. So let's go ahead and add a rotate to that one also. And you can pretty much just copy and paste this, and rename it, of course. And it was called Ico. And then let's make this one turn a little faster and in the opposite direction. Alright, and then reload again. And now you have a rotating die, basically. Alright, so what else can we make? Let's go ahead and add a sphere. So the sphere geometry constructor is actually really interesting, and I encourage you to play around with it a little bit. The first value is the radius, and the second two are how many planes it displays. So you can get a very detailed circle. It goes up to 32. I have them defaulted to 8 to show this. And then it's the same mesh basic material we were doing before, and I'm going to go ahead and grab the color from our square. And before I reload the page, note that the icosahedron and the sphere will be in the same place. So let's go ahead and move the sphere over, and move it to the opposite side of the square, and move it like 5 over for now. And let's see how that looks. So that doesn't look very impressive because the sphere's pretty plain. So let's add the wireframe attribute to start. See how that looks. It's looking a little better. May as well add a rotation to this one as well. Alright, and we'll skip the Y rotation this time. So now we've got a sphere rolling towards us. And let's go ahead and take a look at the sphere geometry constructor. Let's make a big one with 16 and 16. Alright, so I'm going to go ahead and pull that back to where it was. And so there you have a basic Three.js tutorial. Thanks for following along. Some things to note if you're going to keep working with this. I included the Three.min.js file for you, but you have to include it if you want most of your programs to work. The Three.js documentation has all the details for that if you would like to check it out. I also encourage you to visit Three.js.org, which has a lot of super cool examples of things that were made with Three.js. And check out the documentation. It's got some cool shaders and other things that we didn't get to cover in here. Thanks!